Hey all, I'm Apurva and welcome back to WeDesified. Did you know that the most frequent reason for visa rejections is insufficient funding or poor management of financial documents? Even if you have enough funds for your student visa or visitor's visa, if you don't present them well to convince the visa officer that you can afford your stay in the US, your visa will be rejected. So today, we are going to talk about this important topic, how to show your financial documents for the US visa. So let's get to it. But before that, if you find our content helpful, then please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your every like, comment and subscription really motivates us to keep making these useful videos. So subscribe to our channel and press that bell icon right now. In this video, we are going to talk about financials for student visas like going on F1, J1 or M1 visa to do your undergrad, master's or PhD. And this is different from the financial documents for getting the I-20. You can watch that video here if you haven't watched it already. I know both topics sound similar, but there are multiple differences. The amounts we need to show, the type of funds and the documentation to present all can be different. When you're getting the I-20, you only need to show the proof of the I-20 amount or little more, which is typically the cost for the 9 months. But when you're going for the visa, you have to prove that you can support yourself for the entire duration with both tuition fee and the living expenses. For master's students, this would be for about 2 years, and for undergrads, it would be for about 4 years. For PhDs, it works a little different and we will get to it in a while. Apart from the expenses, you also need to show strong financial ties to your home country during the visa interview. Now that we established the purpose of the financial documents, the first question is, for how much? Like, what is the amount you should show for the visa? There is no concrete answer to this, but we would say at least 1.5 times of your I-20 amount should be good enough. Technically, you should prove that you have enough funds for your entire course duration, which means that for master's students, full tuition fee with the living expenses, which might come to around 30 to 35 lakh Indian rupees for the public universities, or 50 to 60 lakh Indian rupees for the expensive or private universities. For the undergraduate students, it might be over a crore in Indian rupees. Now that is a huge amount of money which most of the middle class people won't have unless you are rich or have big business. So that is why it is not mandatory for you to show the whole amount in your bank account or something. You can show a little more than the I-20 amount for the first year and show the proof of sustainable income or funds that you can utilize for the next years. So 2 times the I-20 amount is great and 1.5 times the I-20 amount is good enough. But if you cannot manage the 1.5 times, then you can even work with 1.3 times, but don't go below that. Even with the 1.3 times the I-20 amount, your additional funding sources should be very strong to convince the visa officer. Now what is this I-20 amount? I am sure most of you already know this. The I-20 amount is this estimated amount your college gives you in the I-20 document or the DS 2019 for J1 students. This amount includes tuition fee for 2 semesters, living expenses and other costs like the book cost, health insurance, etc. This amount differs from college to college, so if you have multiple I-20s, then it is important to find the right college's I-20 amount. If you get a scholarship or departmental funding, then you can reduce that amount from the total you have to show. That is why if you are a PhD student with full funding, then you would usually don't have to show any proof of funds. Your tuition fee will be covered by the department and other miscellaneous and living expenses will be covered by the stipend. But if you don't get full funding and the stipend, then you have to follow same procedure as others. Now that we know how much we have to show, let's see what are the documents that we can present at the visa interview. There are no mandatory documents that you have to carry. In fact, in most cases, the officer won't even ask you to show any financial proofs. If you're confident in answering and if the officer is convinced, then you don't have to show any documents. But if the officer asks you to show the proofs and you don't have them, then they can either reject your visa or give you 221G administrative processing and ask you to submit the required proofs. Nobody wants to be in that position. So it's always best to go fully prepared. The financial documentation can be broadly divided into 3 types: liquid funds, proof of income and fixed assets. Liquid funds are the funds that you can use for your expenses immediately. The proof of income is the source of that liquid funds. And finally, the fixed assets are to show your strong financial ties to your home country. Let's discuss each one of them in detail, but keep in mind that you don't have to have all of the documents we mentioned, but the ones that are suitable to strongly prove your case. Let's talk about the liquid funds first. As the name suggests, these funds should be readily available for you to withdraw as and when you require, like the funds in your bank account. If you're able to show the total amount in your or your sponsor's bank accounts, then that would be great. You don't have to show all of them in one account. You can use multiple accounts, but all of them should belong to you or your sponsors. You can show the balance statements to prove this amount. Another type is educational loan. Educational loan is more reliable form of funds because the funds in your account can be used for other purposes and you may not have them when you have to pay the fees. But with educational loan, the officer knows that the bank will lend you money to pay the fees when you have to pay, and these will be dispersed only for the tuition and living expenses. So it's more reliable in their perspective. You can show a mix of savings and education loan for the liquid funds. Other than these two types, you can also show fixed deposits, provident fund or any other bonds if they are going to mature during your stay in the US, and you can liquidate them when required. If they are not going to mature sooner, then you cannot use them as liquid funds. One big no-no for liquid funds are showing them in mutual funds, stocks or cryptocurrencies. You cannot show your total funding in a couple of bitcoins because their value is not reliable and it can drop any day, so don't do that. The next category is proof of income. If you have enough liquid funds, then you must establish their source. Like, where did you get this money from? If you or your sponsors are employed and the money is from their savings, then you can show their latest 3 to 4 months pay slips. If they have a business, then you can show their income tax returns. If they are already retired, then you can show the proof of provident fund or pension. For the education loan, you can show the proof of guarantee and collateral. This will prove that your funding is legitimate and you also have steady stream of funds or income if something were to happen to your liquid funds in the future. Like if the bank decides to withdraw your loan or if your liquid funds were utilized for another big expense, then you can still support your education. You have to be careful with these documents. Like if you're showing 4 to 5 lakhs annual income in the tax returns, but you claim that you have 50 to 60 lakhs in savings, then it doesn't add up. So make sure that your source of income makes sense. The last category is the fixed assets. This is mainly to show that you have strong financial ties to your home country. If you only have one piece of land which you sold and got the 40 to 50 lakhs in money that you showed as liquid funds, then the visa officer would most likely think that you are trying to immigrate, as you don't have any assets in your home country, or in other words, weak financial ties. They would assume that you are a potential immigrant and would not return after your studies. Or worst, your motive is not to study, but you are using the student visa just to enter the United States. This is a cause for straightforward rejection. So to avoid, you have to show enough fixed assets. These can be agricultural or commercial lands, buildings or properties. If you have a business, then it can be revenue evaluation of the business, proof of investments, etc. You can add the valuation of gold and diamonds as assets, then the mutual funds, stocks and cryptocurrencies, but keep them as a lower priority. There is no requirement on how much these fixed assets should be valued. They just have to be enough for you to confidently prove that you would come back to your home country to look after them. It is not easy to carry all these original documents to the interview, and the officer won't be able to judge their value based on this documentation. So what most people do is that they get a consolidated evaluation certificate of all their fixed assets from a CA or a CE. You can list out all of the above mentioned assets as applicable to you and get their valuation done in the US dollars so that the visa officer can easily understand what you're talking about. Like we mentioned earlier, you don't need every single one of these documents, just those that are applicable to your case. Some people take the detailed bank statements, affidavits of support from the sponsors, but these are optional and we would let you decide on those. But above all of these, one thing that is most important for this entire process is your confidence. If you speak confidently and convince the visa officer that you are capable of supporting your education, then they won't even ask you for a single piece of document. So confidence is the key. That is all we have for today. Hope you got a better understanding of this financial documentation process for the US visa. We will come up with more videos about this visa process and student life. If you haven't watched our previous videos, then go check them out now. If you find this video useful, then please like and share it. And if you have any questions, then you can ask us in the comment section below. We will reply and make more videos answering all your questions. See you in the next video. Until then, take care, keep learning. Bye-bye.